Hey, it's Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and it is Monday. It's October 23rd. This will be our chart lesson for today. And I'm a little late getting this done. It's almost 7 o'clock, and I'm just starting the video. I apologize, but it's just been one of those Mondays, million things going on. But anyway, the video will be here. It's just a little late. So let's take a look here real quick at our daily chart. You can see kind of mixed. We got down here into the oversold territory. And we tried to bounce, but we really couldn't bounce out of there. So just kind of um, mixed trading day. It looked like we were going to rally real strong, and then we sold some of that off, and we actually looks like we ended up closing lower from what we did Friday. So um, yeah, I'm not sure if we're going to bounce out of here. This doesn't look like rejection off the lows. It looks like uh, so we may continue a little lower here, or we could just work sideways. It's still a possibility we could rally out of here and bounce a little bit, but we'll see. We did make new lows here, so we did accomplish that. Didn't close a whole lot lower than these previous lows closes, but we did trade lower. So let's flip over to our 2,000 tick chart and go through the trades and try to get through those today. There's a few trades, kind of a busy day, but we'll try to work through them pretty quick so I can get this video up. And here it is. You can see we had a big, strong rally or sell-off, and then we had a little correction and on the break, and then moved to a new low, and then we spiked. We had this spike in channel like it was going to be a big day, but we got a break here and a move to a new high, and then we just kind of were chopping sideways, and we ran up real fast and furious one more time, and then it sold off, and we kind of took most of it back and ended up slightly below where we closed Friday. So there it is, just kind of a mixed trading day, although it looked like it was going to be a rally day, but I couldn't sustain it, couldn't hold it either. So, but let's zoom in, go through the trades. The market opened at 7 right in here, coming down on this correction. I marked this first trade green. You do get a triple test there, and this is a higher low. That's a pretty good move down. We did get an overshoot and a pretty good move down. So you didn't get a break in new low, but you got a triple test. And so if you recognize that triple test and the little trap there, this also looks a little congested. Maybe you take that trade. Somebody else asked me about it, and I told them I like the trade, but it's definitely congested there. You definitely have this trend. You have an overshoot in this trend, but you would expect a retest of the lows, and so prices are probably going to go lower, but there's still a good chance you could get a retest of the highs here. So it's just really hard to know. But that triple test with the break lower and the higher low that turns up, I don't know that I go a long way up here, but maybe you take that on the engulfing bar. And usually I don't like entering on an engulfing bar when the bar to the left of it is has no body like that and you got congestion. So there's reasons to like that one, reasons to be concerned. I'll mark it green. We finally ran up, we make a new high. We do make a lower high right here, but it looks a little congested. And again, I'm not. You do have matching highs there. That's another one. Maybe it is a second. It's not a technically you could call that a new low, so you could also call that a second entry. So maybe we mark that one green. I'm just not crazy about it. The key would be how much room you have back to the EMA. Because you see we tried to bounce there. We end up going lower. You definitely don't want to trade that as a failure. And, uh, and this is really a second entry long, but I don't think you want to go long there. You do have a break and new low. I'd wait on a higher low, which you don't get, and then we're just trending lower. And again, I don't think you want to go short up here yet. You get a second entry short here, a little congested. Again, I had mixed emotions about it. You could probably argue for it to be green. It's a failure. Notice the new high, first entry, second entry, but it's also a first entry, second entry short. You just don't really have that trend line confirmed yet, and it looks a little congested. You see it struggles before it goes lower. Maybe you take that. being it's a second entry and a failed second entry long as well. We run on down. You get a first entry, second entry. Notice this one turns down and then it breaks higher here and then turns back down. So when it goes past that green, this bar to the left, that's a second entry short. And fairly bearish bar. I tend to like that one. You don't have a lot of room there. Maybe you take that on the engulfing one. I can't remember how much room you had there. It's pressing it. I mean, it looks like there's just enough to get out. So maybe you take that trade. I'd probably take it on the engulfing bar. But it closes so bearish that it's probably worth it. There's a lower high here, but it makes a matching low. And so I'm not crazy about it after that point. And then this one, I'm only willing to make it green anyway. But you do have a little trend channel up as well. And you do get a close outside and a new high all in one bar. I'd rather see it close outside and then make a new high and then give you a good signal bar without the congestion to make it to be a really perfect setup. So, but there's reasons. Maybe you take that trade. We drop on down, then there's a higher low here, and we are a good ways away, but that's not a real. I mean, we do have a break outside and a new low. It's not a convincing one though. So I'm not crazy about taking that new high there. I'd want a reversal. And so you want to wait on a reversal. Sorry, I had a little interruption there, but first entry, second entry. And even though you make a high or low here, it never breaks higher, so it's not a failure till it breaks above that 2-bar matching high. Maybe you take that trade. It's clearly a failed second entry short, and it's clearly right off the key entry point. So it's probably worth taking that trade. Again, it might look a little congested, so that's the reason I made it green rather than just making that one blue. Turns out to be a really nice trade. Of course, you don't know that ahead of time, so it's still a little bit of a gamble. And you just get a first entry there. It's right off the key entry point, but it's just a first entry. Same thing here, just a first entry. This is looking pretty strong here, and then suddenly you get a first entry, second entry, but you get a break here. That's a clear second entry long with a nice signal bar. You got to take that. It runs up, makes a new high. It looks like maybe we're going to turn over, and it just keeps going higher. There is a second entry here as well, but that's just too sideways for me after a break and a new high. A lot of times you'll get a second leg up, even if you're going to reverse. So, it's one of those that maybe if it wasn't congestion, maybe I'd say yes, but I don't like the congestion. If you wait a few minutes later, you get a clear second entry long right off the key entry point. Another nice move, and we're not going far. We're just steadily chopping higher. We even come back here. It's just a first entry, though. It's a fairly bullish bar right off the key entry point. We've been running high to low. It's another one. I just think you got to wait on the second entry, and you don't get it. You just take off. You do get a second entry here. Notice the new high, first entry, second entry, but signal bar is no good. Runs to a new high, pushes up one more time, and then turns down. I don't see any entries down through here that now you're getting right into the key entry point. It does get a break here. This is not rejection down here at these lows, so you don't want to go long out of here. You don't get a high or low. You don't get a failure. Finally, you get a little double top here, so you come back. So that's a first entry and then a second entry. It's a high or low on the second entry as well. It breaks lower, turns up, and goes out. I like going long right there. You got plenty of room back to these highs, and this is why we have to pay attention to these highs, because look, it runs to those highs and turns back down. And it gives you two legs back to the key entry point again, so it's another second entry long. And then you get another high or low here. We did have the break, but we don't have the new high in place, so there's still a good chance we're going higher before we reverse. And so that's why I like these trades here. There's a reversal here. It's not really, we'd want to see it off of the main trend line, not a secondary one. So I don't like going long there. Just a first entry here after a break. Another first entry. Another first entry. First entry. First entry. And now we're just sideways here. We run up here and we do turn down off the high of this spike and channel. But we've already had the break and a bunch of legs to a new high. So this one's coming down. You get a break and new low. So that's a second entry long right at the lows. It made a new low, and a lot of times you're better off to wait on a higher low, although these turn out to be important lows sometimes. So you might want to take that on a, you could call that a triple test, but it makes that new low. But you do have your break and new low there. So maybe you take it. You don't get a really good higher low. Then it turns down up here. This one's tempting to go short, but everything's still kind of pointed up, so I'm hesitant to go short right there. Runs down, makes another new low. Looks like it looks like we get an overshoot here, and it just reverses and comes right back to the top. You do get a breakout here on a second entry short, so that's one you might take the failed breakout. We have to make that green. I'd rather wait on a lower high, which you just never really get. You actually get a higher low and then another higher low. So you get a second entry here, but I don't like going long without testing that at least one more time. And this thing just rockets straight up. And of course you get your lower high here so far away from the EMA. That's really risky. But in real time, being that far away from the EMA after on a breakout here that has not tested this area, I really kind of liked it. Just to get a scalp back to the EMA, and who knows, maybe you get this whole move, which you do. So you don't get another entry coming down, unfortunately, and then you actually get a close outside, then you get a break. And notice what happens. You come up, you get a close outside, then you get two legs up. It's tempting to take that one, but you don't have any proof that a lot of times it'll try to turn up again like it does there and maybe make one more push. So I'm hesitant to take that first one, even though it's bearish. But when it breaks higher here and fails and turns down, I like entering that on the engulfing bar. And if it breaks below right there, it's probably going lower. And it does pretty much confirm that spike and channel down. Here you just turn back down. There's no signal bar. It is a second entry. Really, I'd call this a new low, so just a first entry. There's a lower high here, but congestion and too far to trade it as a lower high. But a few minutes later, you get two legs back, and it breaks higher and fails and comes down. I like trading that again on the engulfing bar. If you wait till this closes, you're right into the lows. You still might take that trade because I didn't really look at this as congestion until it bounced there again. When it was just here, it looks like a failed breakout that could go lower. So I still like that one being red. You get a little failed break on the low side, but I don't think you want to go long here. It is a second entry. I mean, it is a higher low at this point too. You might say, hey, I just want to try to ride that back to the breakout area and the EMA. So if you've got enough room back to both of those, maybe you take that trade. Because you did get a break of this channel and you've got a couple of legs to a new low. So there's a reason it might go higher again. And it just runs up and turns down again. I don't think you can go short the way that is right there. Again, you get a lower high here on the second entry, but I think that's a repeat pattern, but I'm just not crazy about it. But if it is a repeat pattern, I want to say we had that pattern back there before. You could take that. We do bounce down here again, but the trend is tending to be down here. There is a triple test there. It looks a little sideways. We tried several times to get out of this lower half. There's probably room back there to take that trade. Yeah, there's a room back. I'm not crazy about it, but maybe you take that trade. you end up getting this engulfing bar. And I think it actually broke higher and then turned down. So when it turns out to be engulfing bar, you really should move your stop to the previous low, and then you got to take on more risk. And so that's just more reason just not to take that trade right there. You do get 2 legs up and a second entry short, but no signal bar. Run down. You're working sideways. You get a failed breakout, and it actually breaks higher and fails and turns down. And that's a retest of the breakout area up here as well. Maybe you take that one on the failed breakout, especially on the engulfing, since it had an engulfing bar. But you get a lower high here that breaks higher and then turns down. I like taking that one. I'd probably wait till this closes and then take it, because that looks a little congested across there. And takes it a minute. This drops on down, comes back here, and you could argue there's 2 legs back there, but again, it looks more like this where it's congested or in a range and it breaks out. So, it's right off the EMA. So in that case, it looks like a repeat pattern. So maybe you take that one. It's getting late in the day, and if you screw it up here, you're in trouble. But it is a repeat pattern of this right here. So maybe you take that trade. I'll make it green. And that takes us into 230. So kind of a wild and crazy day. Prices all over the place. We've seen that a lot lately, though, so nothing unusual. But there it is. Again, it's late, so I'm not going to beat around the bush. I feel like I kind of rushed through those, but I felt like I needed to as well. So I apologize if it felt like I was rushing through the trades, but it's after 7. I want to get this processed and posted and call it a day. So anyway, I'm going to wrap it up. We'll be back again to do it tomorrow. I'm done for today. This is Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and we'll see you next time.